Good afternoon and welcome to our Elements Parents Talk. I'd like to welcome our Father Rector, Paddy Green, who will start with our opening prayer.
Hello parents, it's lovely to speak to you again at the beginning of this new year when your sons are coming for the first time into Belvedere. It's an exciting time for everyone and I hope it runs very smoothly. You're entering a Jesuit school, and that means that it's a school run by priests who are of the Society of Jesus. The word Jesuit was a kind of a nickname given to these arrogant people who wanted to call their new community after Jesus. And so a kind of sarcastic nickname went around, they want to be baby Jesus. So the word Jesuit stuck over the years. So we are members of the Society of Jesus. So Jesus is very much the model that we aspire to in everything that we do in our schools. And particularly we remember in this year St. Ignatius Loyola, who 500 years ago around this time was injured in a battle. He was a soldier at the time and he was defending a castle in the Basque country in Pamplona in Spain when a cannonball smashed one of his legs and injured another. So he was carted off home to the family place in Loyola in Spain, and he had a very long recuperation. And it was during that time that his whole life was turned around, and he turned towards God in a way that was providential for himself, but also for all of us, because that's the reason I'm here today. And your sons are joining a Jesuit school because of what God did to him in the rest of his life. Now, one of the great themes that Ignatius discovered was that he could find God in all things. And that's one of the things that we want to emphasize for our new young first years, that this is a discovery, a voyage of discovery you're setting out on, to discover God in all things, in music, and in art, in sport, in new friends particularly, that you will discover new dimensions of yourself and of other people so that the world begins to grow bigger and bigger and you discover that God is our future. And another great theme of a Jesuit school is a faith that does justice. Our Christian, our Catholic faith is not just about knowing things, but it's about doing good for others. So really reaching out and helping those who are most in need. Whether it is, again, making sure that we act kindly towards one another, so there's a great anti-bullying emphasis in the school, but also reaching out beyond the school to those who are in need by working, say, with the Vincent de Paul Society from the very first year of entering into our school. The care of one another is central, of course, and the care of the earth will be a huge dimension of your son's education. So let us pray that we may join in this spirit of finding God in all things, being open to that possibility, and of caring for one another, caring for creation, living a faith that does justice. So I'd like to finish by saying the college prayer, which is the prayer of St. Ignatius. Lord, teach me to be generous, to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labor and not to look for any reward, only that of knowing that I do your holy will. Amen. And now I'll hand you over to our headmaster, Mr. Jerry Foley. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Paddy. You're very welcome, wherever you're watching this or whenever you're watching this. My name is Jerry Foley. I'm the headmaster in Belvedere College since September 2003. And you'll get to know people, but it is a bit more difficult when we're not there in person, so we're looking forward to meeting you in person in the college sometime in the near future. But until then, let me introduce other people. There are 3 deputy heads in the college. The Link deputy head is Mr. Paul Bryce, who will be speaking later on. The other deputy head is Mr. Tom Doyle, and he's link deputy for 5th and 6th year. And Mr. Colin McCarthy, who's acting deputy while Miss Culligan is on leave, is the link deputy for 2nd and 3rd year. You'll also get to know the form tutor who will accompany your child for 6 years on their journey through the college. And they're your first point of contact in relation to most things, except in relation obviously to a subject, if it's your English subject teacher and you have a concern or a query or anything that you're worried about, you talk directly to the subject teacher initially. And I say talk because talk is always far better than email. Email can be much misinterpreted. So the first thing I'll say to you is there are a couple of documents that we'll refer to. All the information is available. Our procedures are pretty good, if I say so myself, and we reflect and focus on improvement all of the time. And the feedback we receive from the students and from parents is with a view to that always, is to improve. At the end of my little introduction, I will be introducing you to Mr. Pat Rogan, and I want to thank him for the induction programme. I'm sure your children have already been met him, and he runs the induction programme, and he's also the year head for 1st year. All of the information, or 99% of it that you need, you'll find in the parent journal. It is downloadable. We don't print it off. We try and print off as little as possible in an effort to reduce our carbon footprint and to embrace the benefits of digital technology. But it is worthwhile actually downloading it and reading through it, because it will answer most, if not all, of the questions you have. The other piece of information that you'll find, or the other document you'll find really useful, is your child's journal. And it's interesting, we had a meeting today, a staff meeting with year heads, and we were reflecting on the fact that the journal, the organisation of it really reflects how organised a student is. So they enter the work they have to do. In secondary school, there's no such thing as no homework. Your child may initially misinterpret that there's no written homework, but given that they have 8 or 9 subjects, you can imagine that if they even did 25 minutes or 30 minutes of revision, of looking back over what they have done during the day, that's 4 hours work. So there's a lot of learning work, a lot of memory work, as you can imagine, with languages, with formulae. So don't misinterpret that the absence of written work is no homework. Revision work is entered in the parent journal. So those 2 documents are really critically important. The parent handbook, as I said, it is the manual. You need to read it and look at it. It'll answer your questions. And the student journal, which explains rules and everything else in the college, and the important focus of our weeks in the college is also in that. The third thing that I refer you to is the newsletter. The newsletter is our exhibition piece for much of the student work, and Mr. Ronan Duggan is the editor of that newsletter, and he welcomes contributions from all of the students, and there's this team of students who work on it. So again, all our communication is official communication, and you should take time to read the newsletter when it's published, normally on a fortnightly basis. So what do we want? Well, we want your child to be safe. We want your child to be happy, and we want your child to be engaged, and above all, to achieve their academic potential. And again, my experience of the college over these 20 years almost now has been that there's no shortcut. It is work. If you want your son to achieve and to be involved, it is work. And we as parents have our primary responsibility in ensuring that our child understands that the routine that they establish is critical to that. From personal experience, I'd suggest to you that phones have no place when a child is working. They're buzzing and going off, they're a complete distraction. And social media wastes a huge amount of time. So establish the routine, whether it's you come home and have your meal, or whether you come home and settle to study and later have your meal. It doesn't really matter, it's whatever the family has. But establishing a routine whereby there's work and a clear demarcation of this is time for work is very, very important. And that is the role of a parent. We can't establish that. We can advise all the study skills, we can advise organisations, we can set work, etc. But the critical role for first year parents is to establish those routines really, really clearly. If you have a difficulty, or if you sorry, if your child has difficulty, the first thing we talk about the difference between primary and secondary education is you teach your child to talk to their teacher. Teach them to talk to the teacher, to the subject teacher, to their form tutor. There's an extensive pastoral support system in it with chaplains and guidance counsellors. We have a director of faith who will be speaking to you later on about the faith and service programme. So really it is about embracing everything that is available in the college. So rather than solve your child's problem originally for them, in secondary school, we are teaching them to become independent learners and to manage their learning and to be co-authors of their learning experience in a secondary school. So if I can compare it to teaching a child to swim and you're in a boat, if you keep lifting them out of the water every time they have difficulty, they'll never learn to swim. That said, if they have major difficulties and you see them going through a period of distress or anxiety or anything like that, the form tutor needs to know that, because form tutors know the background of each of the students in their group. So that is a critical point, is that if there are changes in the background of what's happening at home, and life in our society is quite complex with separations, divorce, the death of a grandparent, the illness of a relative, these are important things to tell a form tutor, because it helps us then to monitor how that child is doing. In terms of the contact details for staff, they're all in the handbook. As I said, as primary educators, we have a major responsibility, and I think that this is something that some people are very much afraid of if this child is their first child in secondary school. Young men face complex society. They face a society where illegal substances are readily available, where substance abuse, and we have a problem with alcohol abuse in Ireland, not just in any particular part of society, is pervasive. So students have to learn how to manage these situations. Everything from cyberbullying, sexting, from the substance abuse, as I've mentioned, consent, from mental and physical health. Certainly college has extensive programs in educating young people about these. However, the primary responsibility of us as parents is to talk to our children about these things, because they learn from our example and they learn their values from how we behave and how we engage. A simple example is we're constantly telling the students how to behave on social media, and yet if a parent engages in a WhatsApp group whereby they are speaking ill of other people or in a cruel manner, this is probably more influential as values than anything they will say. So the students that we have, they learn from our behaviour and how we model that behaviour. We don't always succeed, no school is perfect, but we do try and focus on how we treat students, and cura personalis is at the heart of all we do. That said, one of the things that we always teach students is to accept responsibility for their own behaviour. There are consequences for that, and we practice a restorative justice process in dealing with these issues. That said, students must accept that they're here and that we're creating a safe environment for everybody else. So the behaviour we expect of them is that of a friendly welcoming for everybody else that they encounter in that. One of the parents wrote to me about my graduation address it wasn't a graduation, it was actually passing out address this year, and I said, the success for all of us is how we make other people feel good about themselves. So that's one of the targets we try and set for ourselves and for other people, is to see, in reflecting on that, do we do that? The last thing I'll say is this: I am a parent of two boys that went through the college and had very different experiences. It was a fantastic experience. And the only regret is that it's over all too soon. So what I'd advise you is, have faith. They'll do you proud. Trust in us. Work with us. We are well used to dealing with young men on their journey, and we accompany them on this wonderful journey. And now I'll hand you over to Mr. Pat Rogan. He's the year head, man responsible for the excellent induction programme that your child benefited from, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Pat Rogan, and I'm the year head for Elements, and I'll be teaching Irish to one of the Elements classes. As year head, I see my role as being very much trying to make your son feel happy, feel safe, and feel that he really belongs in Belvedere. I'm very aware that it's a big transition for students coming into first year in Belvedere, coming perhaps from a local small primary school into a city centre school, into a very big school what all that entails with travelling and public transport and so on. So it can be a difficult transition. So I, as year head, and others do our very best to make sure that that transition is as smooth as possible. The rugby camp, which was on last week, the induction week, which is taking place this week, they're all designed to make your son feel that this is the place that he wants to be. So far this week, he's already met his form tutor, who is probably the most important adult he's going to meet during his 6 years here, and who will accompany him for the 6 years of his journey through Belvedere. He's also met the prefects, who will be working with the elements classes. Each elements class will have 3 prefects, and they've been very involved this week in, again, getting to know the boys in first year and making sure that next week when school starts, that your son will have a senior student that he can go to if he's any issues, if he's finding it difficult, and they can help. But as a year ahead, I'm very much trying to make sure that your son settles in quickly here and that he feels this is the place that he wants to be. I've spoken a little bit to the boys about what I expect. I expect the highest standards of behaviour. I expect them to work hard, to play hard, to get involved, and to treat others with respect. It's a community here. We also have teaching staff, a lot of other people working in the school, maintenance staff, catering, cleaners. Everybody needs to be treated with respect because they're part of the community. And it's a word I will go back to again and again with the boys. And most importantly, that they treat their fellow students with respect as well. We do have very high standards of behaviour. We expect the boys to adhere to them and to make sure that they do their very best, that they are the best that they can be, whether it's inside the classroom, whether it's their involvement in co-curricular, in sport and so on. And they've already had an introduction to that this week. So I'm looking forward very much to working with them. So far my experience has been that they're a really, really good group. They've been very, very cooperative down in Distillery this week. Obviously it'll be slightly different next week when we start back in school uniform, formal attire and so on. But I do think that they've had a great start. I'm looking forward to getting back to class next week. Hopefully there'll be no online learning, that it will all be face-to-face, which I think every teacher in the country prefers. So I'm really looking forward to just having a great year with them. They're very privileged to be in such a great school, and I think if they come in with the attitude of doing their very best inside and outside the classroom, looking out for each other, treating people with respect, and in return they will be treated with respect. They will be supported by me as a year head, by their form tutors, by their teachers, the prefects, chaplains. So they have a great support structure. They have everything, every advantage that can be given to them will be, and we ask in return that they do their very best. So thank you for your support and for your cooperation, and I will now hand you over to Deputy Principal Mr. Colin McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Rogan. Hello, Elvin's parents. My name is Colin McCarthy and I am the Acting Deputy Principal in Belvedere. We have a lot of activities in Belvedere. We have a great range of activities here in the college. And although these activities might seem a little bit different, we will do our best to ensure your son has every opportunity to get engaged in some way, shape or form. Mr. Foley, Mr. Rogan will talk quite a lot about just trying things out. Don't go home at 3:30. There will be something on, sport or non-sporting, social justice. It's in your son's best interest that he gets involved and he goes finds out what's on. In the sports world, our rugby programme is huge. Mr. Wood is the games master and Mr. Duggan is the head of PE along with Mr. Keelan. So between the three of them, they will keep you up to date on the activities that has taken place. A lot of you had got a taste of our rugby programme during the Camp Belvo weeks, 1 or weeks 2. And thank you for that. And it was great meeting your sons and it was great meeting you. From a lot of your feedback, it seemed to be a fantastic week. And hopefully it was a nice little introduction then for their induction week, which took place now. Going forward, the elements will have triple PE on a Tuesday afternoon. So that's the last 3 classes. During this, we'll walk them down to Distillery Road. They will take part in PE, and for the first couple of terms it's going to be rugby. And then when that's over, then they can be collected from Distillery Road. If need be, we will walk those who need to back up to Belvedere to make their own way home. During these PE classes, the boys can wear their Belvedere jerseys, they can wear rugby gear, their boots, gum shields. Don't worry if a mistake is made in the first couple of sessions, we'll talk them through it as we go along. The next rugby session that they will do will be on Saturday mornings, and that's going to be back up in Cabra where we had our Camp Belvo. And that'll be first thing in the morning, so we'll be quite early, possibly 9 o'clock or 8:45. And there again, the boys will wear just rugby gear, similar stuff that they wore maybe during Camp Belvo. We do, and we hoped to go back to training on Wednesdays. We have to wait a little bit for that, just because we have to wait on the guidelines for the use of transport. So at the moment, we'll just do Tuesdays and Saturdays, but if and when the time comes to change to Wednesdays, we will let you know. Our next big activity is athletics. Now, athletics can take part. We do quite a lot of outside athletics on the roof, up and down the roads, around Mountjoy Square, down in Clonliffe College, and we'll do them in groups that are safe and are responsible. Mr. O'Shea and Mr. Duggan, they lead the athletics programme, and again, just in the same way as the rugby programme, the information about the times, locations, they will be communicated to you. And they're communicated to the boys as well, who will take some responsibility for it, but that'll all go into the parents' newsletter. We do have events that take place outside the school. We have sailing, we have equestrian, we have squash. And a lot of these activities take place before Christmas. Now, we will wait to find out from the governing bodies if they're going to be running those events. If they are, we will enter a team, in which case then we will communicate that to you. If not, however, we won't be able to enter a team. We are still waiting on guidelines for basketball, it being an indoor sport competitively. We're not too sure just yet which way and what decision will be made on that. We didn't play basketball last year outside of PE, which was a shame, but hopefully that might change at some stage this year. Tennis and cricket, they'll happen in the summer, along with track and field. So we've got a bit of time to worry about that. I think we just get ourselves settled into the winter sports first. We do have a new pool. It's a lovely pool, and it's a pool that hasn't been used yet. So we just have a few teething problems, and when we clear up our pool situation, we will make sure we make good use of it. And that will be during PE, during swimming times, and hopefully life-saving. We have many non-sporting activities within the school. So obviously with the rugby and athletics, they take in big numbers. But our non-sporting activities are equally as big. Drama department is huge within the school, and our music department. Although again, like sports, there will be certain restrictions and there will be certain limits. We do intend to run as full a programme as possible. So for the drama, debating, choir and music, all these activities and the information about these activities will be communicated to you through your sons or through the parents' newsletter. And I would urge and encourage you to encourage your sons to take part in one or all of these activities. So although things might look a little bit different, might seem a bit odd, we are in a better place than we were last year, and we hope that might even improve. So the activities that didn't take place last year will hopefully take place this year. Your son will actually experience their first Junior Cup tournament in September, because that's rolled over from last year. Then they'll have the Senior Cup and Junior Cup for this year in January to March. So they have a lot of things to look forward to. From a COVID point of view, we have taken great care to ensure the students and the teachers return to a safe college. A lot of work has gone in during the summer holidays. Our whole building has been cleaned and fogged thoroughly, and this will continue during the year. Classrooms have been marked out and spaces around the school have been marked out to encourage physical distancing. When your son enters the school in the morning, he must wear a mask. Has his mask on as he enters the door, and there's hand sanitizers to the left and right, and he'll sanitize his hands and then make his way to the yard. We have lots of hygiene information and posters plastered all over the yard, the school, the toilets, and they're the reminders that, guess what, this is still about, and we have to do our bit to ensure that we are safe. We do have a COVID room in the reception area, and if any boy presents themselves with COVID symptoms during the day, he will be looked after and he will be cared for here. We will try and make it as less scary as possible, but then we will contact you to come and pick up your son. Having said that, if he's demonstrating or experiencing any of the symptoms of COVID-19, please don't send your son to school, and that will keep us all safe. Any updates on COVID-19, just as it's the same with sports and non-sporting activities, these will be communicated to you via the college newsletter, the parents' newsletter. I wish you the best of luck to you and your son in the coming weeks. It's a wonderful journey. It's a great place to be, and your son are being left in the care of some wonderful teachers here at Belvedere. So I'm going to pass you over to Mr. Porrick Swan. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Mr. McCarthy. I appreciate the opportunity to get to speak with you today. As he said, my name is Padraig Swan. I'm the Director of Faith and Service Programmes in the school. Essentially, I'd just like to mention 4 particular topics. One is a message of welcome, just to extend and expand on the welcome that has already been offered by other people. To say something about the ethos of the college. To talk about our faith programmes and our service programmes, our social justice programmes. But first, just to say this message of welcome, to build on what we talk about in the school. One of the key values of community which we talk about is this message of welcome. The world is a very different place to what it was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. And Ireland is experiencing that change. There's a movement of people across the planet unlike any other time before. And it means the people we encounter in the streets, the people we encounter in Belvedere, on the classrooms, in our corridors, are from a range of different backgrounds, social, cultural, and indeed faith backgrounds. It's really important that we embrace this diversity in all the forms that we encounter. From a faith perspective, the role that I hold within the school is to pay attention to the different faith traditions that we have in the school. While we're Jesuit and Catholic, Christian, we do have students from other faith traditions, and we really want to have the message of welcome to all those from different faith traditions. We are predominantly Catholic, Christian, about 93% of our students, but we do have students from Hindu, Buddhist and Muslim background, as well as students from other Christian traditions. Whatever faith background you come from, or cultural or social background, our message to you is you are most welcome in Belvedere College. To build a little bit on what has already been said by Father Paddy and others about our ethos, we have a revised vision, mission and value statement which run to the core of who we are and what we are about, the identity that holds us together. Our vision is very simple and very clear. Our vision is to form men for others, compassionate, discerning persons in pursuit of a just and sustainable world. You will hear this theme of justice running right through everything that we do, and compassion. Pat Rogan already spoke to you about respect. That equally runs to the heart of what we do. The values that we have of community, having spoken about that, we support one another. We put structures in place to make sure that every student, especially your sons coming in first year, that can transition so well from primary into secondary. What support structures can we put in place to build a community? A community which involves you, involves staff, and involves the past pupils and others who make up the wider community that is Belvedere College. The tradition that Father Paddy spoke about, going back to St. Ignatius being injured in the Battle of Pamplona, was almost 450, 500 years ago when he had his own conversion. That's a rich and deep tradition, and we are part of a global network of Jesuit schools right across the world. It gives us great access to take part in programs with partners in other schools around the world, which broadens the educational experience to embrace this global education that Jesuit offers to us. Some of the characteristics of Jesuit education you will hear time and time again in the school. One that is mentioned is called cura personalis. It's a Latin word which means care of the person. We consciously try and put flesh and blood on what that means by putting some structures in place around the school to bring about this care of the person. As has already been mentioned, the form tutor is the person that you will most have contact with. And the uniqueness of the role of the form tutor, of course, is that they journey with your son right through from first year to rhetoric to their sixth year, which surprisingly enough is in May 2027, which might seem a long distance away, but believe me, as we have said and other parents have said, it doesn't pass very, very slowly, it passes really, really quickly. So May 2027 will come along, but be assured you have people who will walk with your son every step of the way between now and then. In support of the form tutors, you've met already Mr. Pat Rogan, the year head, and you also have two chaplains in the school, Mr. Owen Kyo and Mr. Robert Altsman, supported by a full department in the additional education needs department, the AEN department, and two guidance counsellors, Miss Roisin Donoghue and Miss Angela Kern. So these structures are put in place to make sure that your son feels welcome, feels part of a community, and can feel the benefit of the care of a person, the cura personalis. Our faith programs are really, really important in the school. The role that I have and the role of the pastoral department in spearheading the faith and service programs. No Jesuit school can claim to be a Jesuit school unless they give meaningful expression to faith and service programs. Father Paddy had mentioned the words finding God in all things. When we talk about faith, we are open and respectful to the faith traditions that we embrace. But we do invite everybody that engages with the community, students and you as parents, to explore the opportunities. What might faith mean for you? Who or what might God mean for you? And how can we support you in the exploration of that journey? We ask students and we ask you parents to say, please, please be open to the possibility of how we can engage with our faith program. There are three primary ways in how we do this. The first is our religious education program. We don't do religious education as an exam subject, yet in our junior cycle we follow the state curriculum and we integrate some Jesuit programs to complement the state curriculum to offer a clear, focused junior cycle religious education program. When it comes to senior cycle in 4th, 5th and 6th, we offer students the choice to be part and co-authors of their faith formation program. They have a choice in picking modules that might explore the care of creation, that might explore the whole issue of the movement of people around the planet, refugees, asylum seekers, that might engage with local charitable organisations that we can partner with that have outreach programs to homeless charities, to other charities that might be involved in our local area. How can we support them? Students get these opportunities in 4th, 5th and 6th year religion to have academic program and outreach programs which will give meaning to their faith. Again, as Father Paddy had said, and to repeat and reiterate this point, if we claim to have a faith in God, a faith and belief in God, we can only give meaning to that if we translate that belief in God into a belief and outreach to our fellow human beings. So a faith that does justice is really, really important. So our justice programs, our social justice programs, or our service programs as they're often mentioned, we embrace them in a number of ways. Importantly, we have a range of charitable fundraising programs. In the last year alone, in spite of COVID, we raised almost €190,000 for various charities. Our biggest and most well-known program is probably our Sleep Out, where we are synonymous now with being in Dublin at Christmas time. The students of Belvedere are well known for being at the GPO for 3 days, the 22nd, 23rd and 24th of Christmas, of December I should say. Last year, even with COVID, we didn't have the opportunity to be physically present, but we had a virtual sleep out and we raised in excess of 130,000 for 3 homeless charities. This runs to the core of who we are and what we're about. For your students, they have the opportunity, even from the get-go in first year. The programs that they can get involved in particularly are the St. Vincent de Paul program, which has been mentioned. Uniquely, the St. Vincent de Paul is over 100 years old in the college, one of the oldest student Vincent de Paul conferences in the whole country. It's run entirely by students with the supervision of adult teachers, and they get involved in many activities which your sons can support, especially soup runs on a weekly basis, visitation to old folk, and then we also have hamper collections and toy and food collections at Christmas time and at Easter. So your son can get involved actively in our faith and service programs. We have an extensive retreat program which your son will be able to take part in. Every single student in every year group gets a retreat. The retreats for junior cycle happens as a day retreat in first, second and third year, and all our retreats in fourth, fifth and sixth are residential overnight retreats. The retreat for your son in first year will take place between January and February in 2022. And we will be talking more about the details of that, and we will communicate with you in advance of it. So there is a massive variety of these programs, faith and service programs, which run to the heart of who we are as a Jesuit school. We are, like many schools, an educational place, but the icing on the cake in a Jesuit education is how we can go back to our vision. How can we form men for others who are not living in a bubble, who are living as compassionate, discerning people in pursuit of a sustainable and just world. Justice is at the heart of who we are. We invite you into this journey. We invite you to encourage your sons to take part. And we look forward to journeying with you in all that you do. Again, just to say thank you very much for the time to talk with you. And I'd like to introduce you now to Mr. Paul Bryce, Deputy Principal of the school. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pádraig. I'm the final speaker for this afternoon. So you've heard many things today about life in Belvedere College, but I just want to start with saying congratulations. Congratulations for starting this journey. It's your first time, or this might be your second or third journey through the school as a parent. I'm the Link Deputy for Elements this year, and I'll be working very closely with your sons through the year. I also look after the new staff when they arrive in the college. And I spoke to the prefects earlier on, and I'm giving the same message that I'm going to give now. I have 3 points that I would like to make, and it's the same 3 points I made last year to the Elements parents and to the prefects. And when I meet your sons in the next few days, I will say the exact same thing to them. I've been around the induction week, and I was there at Camp Belvo, and I must say they are a wonderful group that we have incoming this year. 2027 seems like a long time away, but it will come very, very quick. As Pádraig said, our vision is to form men for others, something that's been in the college for decades now, and it's something that a lot of people believe is the core vision for our college. I left here 18 years ago, and the college has grown from strength to strength since then. At the induction week, your sons would have met their prefects, their form prefects. These are young men who are in their last year in the college and who applied to become prefects. A lot of people apply and only some are selected. A lot of younger boys could have been prefects as well. We're very, very proud of them. But what they are is the model of what men for others should be in our college. They are excellent young men. They will be with your son the whole way through first year. The other person who will be with your son the whole way through first year and through the 6 years in college is the form tutor. The form tutor is someone who's a teacher in the college and it's a paid position. They will get to know your son the best out of all the staff. It is at the core of what we do, our prefect and form tutor system, because that builds those relationships over time to make sure that if your son needs anything, there is someone always there. They meet their form tutor every morning at 8:40, and the form tutor who writes the reports talks to teachers and checks in on their well-being, supporting them along their journey. The second point I want to make is that I have a rule for all our students. No student should leave our college at 3:35 unhappy. No student should leave angry, anxious, worried, upset. No student should ever walk out the door with those things on their mind. Belvedere has many, many people that they can go and talk to. It could be a teacher they like, it could be their form tutor, it could be their prefect, the chaplain, chaplains that Porrick mentioned, it could be a deputy, the headmaster, anyone. We're here to serve the children, we're here to look after them, and we know if they go home, problems get worse, they start to worry. If your son ever comes home and he's worried, please let us know. Let us form tutor know, and we'll pick him up first thing the next morning to make sure that we can sort out whatever issue that is. Same goes to you as parents. If there's an issue, please let us know. Sometimes one of our students may come home with an issue that he sees, and there might be two sides to the story. But please let the form tutor know that they are upset, and we'll look into it for him, and we'll make sure that we sort it out. That's our job. As Mr. Foley said, our email addresses are in the parents' handbook, but our form tutors, your form tutors of your sons, should be the first point of contact. Please do send us an email. We are here to support you. And the third point is something that is very, very important to all here at Belvedere, and that is getting involved. Mr. McCarthy gave you lots of different activities that happen from a sporting point of view. We also have a very, very strong choir, very, very strong drama production team that puts on productions every Christmas for the senior school, but also a junior play as well. And at the moment, we're looking at the COVID restrictions to see if we can have our plays back. Over 100 boys every year in first and second year, majority first years, take part in those shows. And there's something that is a big part of forming our young men. When I came back to the college in 2019, I sat on the first day on induction, and the school captain of 6th year spoke to the group in 2019, the incoming first years. And he was quite blunt, and he said, if you come to this college and you just do your work, keep your head down, know one or two people, and leave at 3:35 and do nothing else, you're in the wrong place. I was a bit taken aback, but what he meant was, this college has so much to offer. We build our relationships with our young men outside and inside the classroom, on the rugby pitch, on the stage, the Vincent Paul helping out in sleep runs and sleep out, on retreats, on trips. There are so many things that happen in this college that your son can find something that works for him, something that he can meet his teachers, his peers, other year groups outside the classroom to make the most out of this wonderful college. That is a core part of what we do. Excellence in the classroom and actually building those relationships, becoming a man for others, and that's how you do it. That's what works in our college. Mr. Rogan has been the head of first year for a long time now. He's very, very experienced. That he will encourage all of your sons to get involved in the junior VDP. Very, very quickly we'll have County Colours Day, where students can wear over their shirts, they can wear their local rugby jersey or Gaelic jersey, or the football team they play for. There is so much that happens that all our boys need to get involved in. That will make their time, the 6 years they'll be in our college, they'll make them thrive, successful, but also will help them to enjoy it as much as they can. Mr. Foley mentioned the Parents' Handbook. That is a document that we've worked very, very hard to keep up to date with all our procedures. Everything we do is in that book. Please download it off the website. It's up there for everyone to have in PDF form. Mr. Foley also mentioned the newsletter, and I would also echo that. The newsletter is everything that happens in our college. All our important information goes out through the newsletter, but everything that is we succeed at, that we get involved in, that all goes there. I know in the last newsletter you would have got last week, we had links to the previous newsletters. And it's worth having a look at that with your son and showing him and discussing what happens week on week in the college. It will show them what is available, especially something to aim for in years to come. You should all by now have an access to the Compass application. Compass is our new management software that we'll be using, and that is how you log absences, and that is how you get communications through the app. This is something that's new to the college, and we are working our way through it. An email will come out in the next few days just on updates we have and further information on where everything will be. The last thing I want to talk about is working hard. The jump from primary school to secondary school, as Mr. Rogan said, is quite difficult. It is a big thing, coming in, majority of people coming a long way in a bus or a train or by lift or a cycle. It's a long way, it's a big change. But we know that those young men who succeed in our college are those who work hard. who have a routine for doing their homework, who come in ready for the day, not worried about they might be caught out because they haven't finished something. People who work very, very hard. And that will help them to be successful and help them be happy in our college. If you are struggling, or if your son is struggling with any aspect of this and struggles to do his homework, please do let the form tutor know. We will help them. There is lots of things we can do here to make it as successful for him as possible. I'll finish now by saying congratulations again. I look forward to seeing you all face to face in one of our evenings. Hopefully when the restrictions are eased, we can have people together. Normally we'd have this in the O'Reilly Theatre, and we'd have a mass after for all parents. And we'd like to do that in the future. We'd like to have you all together to get to know each other. Best of luck. Hopefully I'll see some of you in the next few days at induction, and if not, in the future. God bless.